looking pretty is one thing and just sitting and doing makeup is one thing. If a girl is talking about sex, she's automatically labeled a slut. It had that shock value that it's coming from a girl. She's sitting here very casually talking about hookups and talking about her experiences and just sharing her life unfiltered on the internet here in India. It's not like it just happened like, one day I was doing beauty and then suddenly I'm doing sex podcast. No. Hi, I'm Simmy Goraya. I'm a content creator, and today I'm going to talk about my journey from corporate to starting a sex podcast in India. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a little background about me, where I come from, my family, etc. So I come from a very simple Punjabi middle-class family, but I've always been a bit of a rebel in terms of doing everything that I wanted to do in my own way. So right from doing my own admissions to deciding what career I wanted to take, etc. I've done everything myself without asking my family for any sort of help. And I think that habit sort of made me into this person who was always a risk taker. Like, I was not afraid to try new things or to make mistakes. It's just that I wanted to explore everything. So for me, the world was like open. I never wanted to be in a box. And one thing that I'm always very scared of is to live a boring sort of a life. I'm sorry, but this is just me. And I always want my life to be really exciting. It doesn't matter if it's full of ups and downs, but I really want to live my life. And in doing so, I take different career choices and I, try different things. And I've always done that. I've always stood up for that. So I'll take you to the time when I did my MBA. Now, when I was doing my MBA, I was this curious person because I would see all my friends really be scared about the placements. कि यार placement कहाँ मिलेगी, यार ये वाला company जा रहा है, वो आ रही है, वो नहीं आ रहा है, या फिर stuff like that. And we used to be all like very scared, and our conversations would only revolve around placements. And I didn't really understand why everybody is talking about placements and all of that. I mean, it's fine, right? You get a job, you don't get a job, you'll find a job outside, etc. And I was that sort of a person. I got a job. I got placed in an automobile company. I worked there for 1 year. I did not really find it challenging because I could do everything. Like, jo bhi unhone mujhe role diya tha, I was able to perform it really well. Okay, but it wasn't challenging. It wasn't asking more from me. And so I quit my job because I felt like this is not something that I could do for the rest of my life, because it's not asking, it's not making me do, stuff that I'm capable of. There's so much more to me. There's so much talent I have. There's so much skills that I have that I want to use. And I didn't just really want to sit on a desk and let it all go to waste. So I quit my job. I told my parents that I wanted to quit my job, and my dad, my parents, as always, they've been very, very supportive. So they were like, "Theek hai, tu chhod le, but just tell me if you have a plan." I told him that, I see all these beauty content creators and I see a lot of makeup artists around, because that was the time where people were really into beauty and beauty was really picking up in India. So I thought, I'm going to quit my job, and I don't intend to join another company or something. I really want to do something by myself. I want to give it a shot. I mean, if nothing, zyada kya hua, Canada chali jaungi, 1 year ka experience hai mere paas. So my dad was like, "Theek hai, fine. If you think you have a plan, you go for it. I got your back." And that's all I wanted to hear. So I started off being a makeup artist because I had to support myself. I'm a very headstrong, independent type of a person. I don't ask my family for a single penny. After I graduated from MBA, I haven't asked for money. So I had to support myself. And makeup is an expensive business. So I actually, started doing makeup for 500 rupees and 600 rupees. And I used to just travel with my bag and my yellow suitcase everywhere, and I would do makeup. Then, even that wasn't as challenging for me. So I quit that. Then I thought I'll start YouTube. Now, YouTube was challenging, but then I did that for about 3 years. And again, I felt like, dude, I'm doing the same thing again and again and again. And do I see myself doing this for another, say, 5 years or 10 years? And I just couldn't really answer that question for myself. So I wanted to do something that was even more challenging, because I felt like looking pretty is one thing and just sitting and doing makeup is one thing. But having a platform and having a voice where you have opinions, you want to share stories, you want to talk about real stuff, is a completely different genre. So this one evening, I was very nervous and I was very scared, and I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to me. I don't know where I'm heading in life. I'm so lost. And I called up a friend of mine, and he said, "What are you good at?" And I very randomly said, "I'm good at talking." And he's like, "Okay, so then you should do a podcast." And I'm like, "What? Podcast is like the last thing that I would ever do, because for me at that point in time, podcast was like the most boring thing, and like, people only talk about motivational stuff and all that, and I'm not that person. I'm a very casual, I'm very fun, and very like, that sort of a person. So I think people will just get bored because I can't do that, and that wouldn't be the real me, because I 100% cannot, just put up a fake face, or like, a fake front. So he said, no, there are different kinds of podcasts, and you should actually check out stuff that's happening in the West, and you would be amazed. And I was like, okay. So he sent me a couple of links from the US and other places where, sex podcasts and dating podcasts and women running podcasts were a hit. So I listened to those podcasts, and while I was listening to the podcast, I realized that this felt very personal. The stories that they were saying, the things that they were talking about didn't feel unnatural or didn't feel weird or off to me. It actually felt very, very real and raw. And in a way that a friend is sitting and talking to me, or like, sharing their stories, like just how you have your girlfriend sessions, right? And I was like, yes, this is what I want to do, because already on my channel, I was talking about relationships and like, dating tips and all of that. So the seed was already there. It's not like it just happened, like, one day I was doing beauty and then suddenly I'm doing sex podcast. No, I was already talking about men and like, how my experience has been with the guys on the dating apps. So I was like, yeah, I've been doing that already. Let's push it a bit further and show them the real side. Okay. And while I took that decision, I'll be honest, I did not really feel that I'm doing anything wrong, because I know the intent that I had when I started the podcast. I knew this would be something which is very different, which is also what I wanted to do, because I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to push things for myself. And this is one thing about me, that if I have a setback, if I fail, or if I'm not able to achieve something, I'll aim for a bigger goal. And the goal probably might give me a bigger failure or a bigger setback. That's not a problem. It's just that I really need to keep pushing forward. And so when I heard that podcast, I was like, this is it. Your girl can talk. Your girl has stories. She's going to sit and going to be very casual and very, very, up there. And I started with the podcast, and it was very coincidental that the day that I decided, the next day itself, I found a couple of people who were ready to help me out, and I built a team within 10 days. There were like 12 people on the team already. We were gathering information about what we can talk about, what we cannot. And I was very specific about the tonality. I was like, I'm not gonna talk about wellness. I'm not gonna talk about education, because I don't think I have enough knowledge to give education or sexual, expertise of any kind. All I can do is just share my stories up front without any hesitation or without being embarrassed or scared about it. And I did. So the first time that I shared my stories with my team, they were amazed at how it didn't feel wrong. It just felt very raw, candid, and unfiltered. And it had that shock value that it's coming from a girl. She's sitting here very casually talking about hookups and talking about her experiences and just sharing her life unfiltered on the internet here in India. And I was like, this is it. This just gives me so much happiness. This actually was a challenge in itself, that I could sit and actually I could take all of the hate that was coming my way. This made me a very strong person in a way that the hate didn't really bother me. I could see where these people are coming from, because they didn't understand. They couldn't really fathom why she's doing anything like that, because sex is such a big taboo. It's so deeply rooted in each one of us that if a girl is talking about sex, she's automatically, labeled a slut. So I was like, it's fine. It's just that while doing this, I also realized that you have to push conversations ahead. The world is moving ahead. And I think we are at that stage in life in, it's 2022 and we can sit and talk about sex. It's just that, if you look back in times, women had to go through sati, and then वहाँ पे कोई एक लड़की ने शायद बोला होगा कि नहीं, I don't want to die because my husband died. So, there were some rebellious women at that point in time, and then I'm sure the entire society was against it, but they still pushed through it, and then the sati was cancelled, and then they pushed through, and they pushed through, and they pushed through. And so somebody has to start conversations. Every generation will come, and they will push the conversations forward. I gave a platform. I had a platform. So this is what I think. Every generation, there will be somebody who will try to push conversations ahead. And I did that by, having a platform where anybody could come and share their stories and just like be real and be raw and unfiltered. And it was up to you to decide what is your takeaway out of this. You could just sit up, you could just straight up come and say that this is wrong, this is bad, and I'm just, here to like ruin the culture or something. Or you could take away something for yourself, or you could understand the whole idea that this is not a taboo and this is just for everybody to enjoy. So I did that. I was very proud of myself for what I was doing, and I was applauded quite a bit. The podcast ran for about, I think, 8 to 9 months straight. And it was an experience that gave me that high that I was looking for. I challenged myself. I pushed through. I created a product which, it was a platform. It was a whole show in itself. It had its own music. There was this iconic Simmy Said What music. There was, proper branding done. We used to create teasers. We had this entire flow of every episode which was running, and people loved it. People actually waited for every episode to come. Although I wouldn't say that I've only been applauded for this. There have been people who said all kinds of things to me, like, she's doing it for the views, she's doing it because she couldn't do well in her beauty career and etc. So she thought this was easy. She can just sit and come and talk about sex so that she can just blow up overnight. Easy would have been if I just put a camera somewhere in my house and I would have just danced to trending reels, etc. I'm sure I would have blown up there also, because being a girl, I mean, it's fairly thoda sa easy for me to just dance and get my way through stuff. But I didn't do that. I didn't do any of it. I didn't take the easy route there. I actually chose to sit and share stuff about my own life. I chose to face that audience, the audience which was never ready for something like this. I chose to do it here in this country where for years and for ages and centuries, women have been objectified and they've been just looked at as like sex objects. And I just wanted to sit there and talk as if sex is for us also. It's just there for everybody. So out of all of this, one message that I would like to give out to you is, do not be scared to try things just because you feel you would either fail or because log kya bolenge, log bolte hain, irrespective. If you can, then give it a shot, because at least there will be no regret around it. And always try to have your family there to support you, because if you got your families back, you don't need to care about anybody else.
अगर आप इस टॉक के एंड तक पहुंच चुके हैं तो मैं आपको जोश टॉक्स का एक दूसरा रूप भी दिखाना चाहता हूं, जिससे मैं काफ़ी देर से जुड़ा हुआ हूं और मुझे बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है कि वो क्या कर रहे हैं। जोश टॉक्स ने एक नया ऐप लॉन्च किया है जिसका नाम है जोश स्किल्स। अब वो नया नहीं रहा, काफ़ी टाइम से है, लाखों लोग उसको अब यूज़ करते हैं। और जोश स्किल्स पे आप अपनी ज़िंदगी के लिए कोर्सेज ढूंढ सकते हैं। वो कोर्स नहीं जो आपको फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, कॉमर्स, बिजनेस स्टडीज पढ़ाएंगे, वो कोर्सेज जो आपकी जिंदगी में आपको कैसे जीना चाहिए वो सिखाएंगे। मैंने खुद जो स्किल्स पे बहुत सारे कोर्सेज बनाए हैं, पब्लिक स्पीकिंग पे, इमोशनल क्राइसिस कैसे हैंडल किया जाए, अपनी पर्सनालिटी कैसे डेवलप की जाए। हर एक कोर्स में डेली क्विजेज हैं, एक्सरसाइजेज हैं, एक बहुत ही खूबसूरत कम्युनिटी है जो आपको सपोर्ट करेगी, आपको इनकरेज करेगी। आज ही डाउनलोड करें जोश स्किल्स का ऐप और उनके कोर्सेज एक्सप्लोर करके अपनी जिंदगी को आगे बढ़ाएं।
Josh Talks is now a Spotify exclusive podcast. The audio version of our talks will be available only on Spotify. If you like this video and you like to listen to more inspiring stories like this, please follow the Josh Talks podcast only on Spotify.
Tell us what you think about this video and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.